Hey there, my friends. How are you doing? Ashley Bright, the Message Fixer here. And today I wanted to follow up on a series of videos I've been working on, all about how to overcome the built-in anti-persuasion radar that we as human beings bring to bear whenever we are feeling like we're being persuaded. And this is incredibly important for many of my clients and many of you out there who I know are tackling important, big, hairy, audacious challenges like clean energy, clean water, energy efficiency, mobility, our clean energy future and present, if you will. And so I wanted to follow up on the third. There were four. And so if you haven't heard about that, watch some of the previous videos. But this is tip number 3. And this one is called highlighting the gap. And what it does is essentially tapping into this inherent sort of need for consistency within our human bodies, within ourselves. So if we hold a particular position or opinion or place on a topic, everything we do needs to align to that. Our actions, our thoughts, our words, our communication all have to align. And if those don't align, then we are in a state of what scientists refer to as cognitive dissonance. Something isn't lining up and it bothers us. And so where this is valuable in terms of communicating a new idea and overcoming that fear of change is that remember point number 2 that I had, tip number 2 was asking the right questions. And so when you ask the right questions to highlight the gap, here's what goes on. So if you ask someone, let's say for example, you ask someone a question and you're able to get a series of responses that essentially say, A, they're concerned about clean air. B, they're concerned about the environment. C, they're concerned about the world that we leave for their children and their children's children, right? So you've asked the right questions and they've committed to those answers. But then you ask some additional questions that highlight the fact that the way they live is at odds with that. They're using a vehicle that's old and it's polluting and it's using a lot of gas. Maybe they're not recycling. Maybe they have, they use products around their home that are particularly damaging. Whatever those things are. But the point is that what you've now done in that conversation is you've highlighted a big gap between where they said they want to be in terms of clean energy, clean air, etc. But then you've pointed out that their actions, the way they're living, there's a big gap between that. And so now they've painted themselves into a bit of a corner with those answers. And this is the way that when you're communicating a new idea, you can open up the door to dialogue with someone. It's not about sort of catching them and tricking them or being sneaky. It's really about just getting strategic about the way you're communicating. So you ask the right questions, point number 2 from a previous video, that highlight the gap so that it becomes easier then for you to insert in the middle of that gap and say, hey, you answered these questions here, that put you in this point, but here's how you're living, here's how your actions are, and there's a disconnect, and they're going to feel it. That's that cognitive dissonance I referred to earlier. And that's your opportunity to now drop in your product, your solution, your organization that is addressing that problem. Okay? And they're going to be more receptive because they feel like, wow, there's a cognitive dissonance here. I feel it. It's a physical response. And so that's just one of the ways to overcome fear of change in people rather than just continuing to push facts and figures on them and scare them because they're just going to push back. Remember, anti-persuasion radar. Instead, you highlight that gap, you insert your product or service or solution into that gap, and you open that dialogue, and then they have agency in deciding whether to support you, purchase your product, whatever it is. All right, my friends, hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd love to help you out. This is what I do. This is what I'm passionate about. Until then, keep doing what you do, having an impact, bringing new ideas and perspectives to the world, and bringing about a positive change, positive impact for all humanity. All right, my friends, cheers.